we will be beginning our Town Council Zoom meeting of December 8th. As always, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I hope you'll bear with us. It's been a little while since we've done a Zoom meeting, and the first Zoom meeting that we're doing with our actual faces showing. So with that, we're going to move on to presentations and recognitions. We're going to slightly reorder them. We're going to start with number 2, the Human Rights Day. And Kathy, could you explain how we're going to go through this one?
Yes, so we have a Human Rights Day. First, we're going to have a video, and Jay Tulin, who's the chair of the Human Relations Commission, is going to introduce that. Next, we're going to have a Human Rights Day proclamation, and Chris Fagan is going to read that proclamation. And then next, we're going to have the presentation of the Human Rights Award, which we're giving to Ruth Groby, and Jay Tulin is going to give that. Then next, we're going to have the town proclamation, which is going to Ruth Groby, and Joe Capdefaro is going to read that proclamation. And then Brian Conley is going to read the state citation. So I think we are going to start, Anna, with Jay and the video. And I think Jay is on the line.
Okay. Are you there, Jay?
All right. I added Jay in, and then I also
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay. That phone number, that's my cell phone. I call in because I.
Oopsies. Wait a
Okay, we lost you, Jay, just so you know.
Okay, this is Jay. That phone number is my phone number. So this was a labor of love for the Human Relations, Jay Tulin, Chair, Human Relations Commission, just to be official. This presentation you're about to see was an idea that we came up with a while ago that we decided to do a brief presentation just to introduce the notion of Human Rights Day to the Town Council. I will also say that, sorry about that. This is something that we envision at some point in time being a community event. And the other thing I'm going to say is if anyone is interested, one of the things that we would like to model this after is West Hartford's Human Rights Commission, and their event is Thursday night at 7:30. I guess my introduction is just to call attention to the fact that the notion of human rights is very important, especially right now with the situation of the world. This was a big step for the Human Relations Commission. And start the video. Thank you.
On behalf of Farmington Human Relations Commission, we are proud to declare December 10th International Human Rights Day. On December 10th, 1948, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, marking the first World Human Rights Day. The Declaration includes 30 articles detailing the fundamental human rights that are universally protected. Each year, the United Nations chooses a theme for the Human Rights Day. This year, the theme is Women Who Shaped the Declaration. Our next video is a video of women who have shaped and influenced the Declaration to the sounds of Farmington High School Choir.
So I think now we're up to the proclamation, and Chris Fagan, this is, you're on.
Okay, this is Chris Fagan. The proclamation. Okay. Whereas December 10th, 1948 is the date that the General Assembly of the United Nations approved the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, declaring that recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. And whereas the Universal Declaration of Human Rights calls for all people and governments at all levels to promote and respect the rights that it recognizes, remembering that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. And whereas the town of Farmington and the Farmington Human Relations Commission are committed to ensuring the human rights of all Farmington residents, protecting them from discrimination, and encourages equality of treatment of all people, regardless of race, color, sex, religion, sexual orientation, marital status, age, economic status, national origin or ancestry, political opinion, or physical, mental, intellectual, or learning disability. And whereas 2020 is the 72nd anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and an opportunity for the town of Farmington to commemorate this event and recommit itself to the broader achievement of human rights for all residents. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that on behalf of the Town Council and the residents of Farmington, I, Town Council Chair C.J. Thomas, proclaim December 10, 2020 as Human Rights Day in the town of Farmington, and encourage all residents to work together in the coming year to advancing progress towards fulfilling the full range of human rights contained in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 8th day of December, 2020, C.J. Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council.
Thank you, Chris.
Mhm.
And now we'll be going back to Jay, Kathy.
Yes.
Jay, you're back on.
Okay. So moving on, I think it's very important to, as far as this next part of the proceeding, to take note of the fact that we chose to honor the women that were instrumental in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the recognition of International Human Rights Day. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the idea of honoring Ruth, aside from the proclamation that's about to be read, was a conversation between Kathy and Nancy to try and find a creative way to honor what Ruth has done over the years for the town of Farmington. So the Human Relations Commission, through that conversation, decided that who better to be the first recipient of the Human Rights Day Award than Ruth Groby. So that's what we did. And her recognition obviously comes from years of service to the Human Relations Commission and all the other things you're about to hear in the proclamation. So that was obviously well-deserving. I'd also just like to say, on a personal note, if I could just inject this, having been involved with this commission and having known Ruth for 2 or 3 years now, I just want to let her know that I appreciate the trust she's shown in me to bring me into some of the other things that she's involved with, and her endorsement to attempt to try to follow in her footsteps of the chair of the Human Relations Commission. Is Ruth on the call? Do we know? Is Ruth on the call?
I think
She
we've
is on the call, Jay. We're going to open up her mic.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to say thank you, Ruth. This recognition of the work you've done for the town, the Human Relations Commission, and all the other things that you've done is so well deserved. And congratulations on being recognized as the first recipient of what we hope to be an annual recognition of Human Rights Day every December. I also forgot to thank the Town Council for acknowledging and allowing us to have the presentation, and in particular, I'm kind of meandering a little bit, but in particular, Nancy Parent and Donna Mambrino for putting together that presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Jay. And now
Thank
we'll
you.
be moving on. We'll be moving on to the proclamation for Ruth Groby. And Joe, will you be reading that?
Yes, Joe Capitafaro. Congratulations, Ruth, and thank you for everything you have done. the proclamation is, whereas Ruth Groby is a longtime Farmington resident who has dedicated herself to the betterment of your community through decades of advocating for social equality and justice. And whereas Ruth Groby received a Bachelor of Arts from Harvard University, a Master of Social Work from the University of Connecticut, and uses her education and expertise to work tirelessly for all the needs of Farmington's residents. And whereas Ruth Groby has worked for the Greater Hartford YMCA for over a decade and was the 2012 recipient of the Robert C. Knox Jr. YCMA Distinguished Leadership Award for her dedication to helping the YMCA growing and prosper. And whereas Ruth Groby's civic engagement includes volunteering and supporting town organizations such as New Horizons, the Community Chest, United Way, the Human Relations Commission, and where she was chair for over 20 years. And whereas Ruth Groby established a Unity Network, which provides information, education, and support to all Farmington's diverse population. And whereas Ruth Groby assisted in establishing the Citizens Coalition for Equal Access that advocates for universal design, and that was instrumental in the installation of automatic entry doors at the Unionville Post Office to aid all residents that are either confined to a wheelchair or need help with heavier doors in having access to the Unionville Post Office. And whereas in addition to the outstanding work she does for Farmington, Ruth is also committed to Serve Corps, a volunteer service founded by her husband, Richard, that focuses on construction and restoration of homes in Connecticut in areas suffering from natural disasters. Now, therefore, the Farmington Town Council hereby commends Ruth Groby for her tremendous work on behalf of the community, and we hereby thank her for her selfless dedication and immeasurable contributions and commitment to the town of Farmington and its residents. The Farmington Town Council hereby extends Ruth Groby best wishes on her future endeavors. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, the 8th day of December, 2020.
Just froze.
CJ Thomas, Chair.
Looks like CJ's frozen. Everyone can still hear me, so hopefully we'll move on with CJ. And I think we're gonna, Anna put Ruth Groby on if I think she's on the line.
Yeah, I'm here, Kathy, and thank you. So, wow, this was above and beyond. So I'm just speechless, and thank you all so much. And of course, one gets more out of it than one puts in, and that's been the case for me. And I wish you all the best. And I think it's very exciting that we're doing Human Rights Day, and Jay has some great new ideas for the Human Relations Commission. So thank you all so much.
Well, Ruth, thank you for all your hard work, and I really enjoyed getting to know you over the years, and you really has been such a wonderful advocate and really have taught us a lot and over the years, and you know, it's now in I think we've really improved what we do, and all of it, a lot of it is due to you and your advocacy. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Ruth.
Kathy?
Yes.
Did I have I have a proclamation to read for Ruth?
Oh, I'm sorry, right? If I could have
Okay.
Anna.
Hello, Ruth.
Yes.
This is Brian Connolly, and it's my privilege to read this this proclamation for you from the state of Connecticut, from the General Assembly. It's an official citation introduced by Representative Mike D'Amico, Representative Tammy Exum, Senator Derek Slapp, and Senator Gennaro Bizzarro. It reads, "Be it hereby known to all, the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Ruth Groby in recognition of your tireless efforts for decades in advocating for inclusiveness, accessibility, and social equality for all people. Through your forward-thinking initiatives on the Human Relations Commission, the Unity Network, and the Citizens Coalition for Equal Access, you have raised awareness, forged consensus, and made practical improvements in the lives of countless individuals. The residents of Farmington and Unionville are thankful for your stewardship and inspirational work. The entire membership extends its hereby best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success, given this 14th day of January 2020 at the state capitol, Hartford, Connecticut. Congratulations.
Wow, thanks so much, Brian. Yike.
Thank you. Thank you for reading that, Brian. Sorry, I just got knocked out of the meeting. I'm back in though. Do we have Ruth with us?
Yep, Ruth just did speak, CJ, and she said thank you, and she is on the line. And Brian, but if you want to say something to Ruth.
Yeah, Ruth, thank you very much. And we are so fortunate to have had your long and dedicated service and leadership for the town. So thank you for all that you have done, and I'm sure you will continue to do throughout. So thank you so much.
I love this town. Thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you. And are we going to be circling back or no to the first?
No, we are not going to be doing firefighter of the year. We'll do that in January. I would just want to say that I do apologize. It seems like there was an error, and I do apologize to John Driscoll and his family. I think they are at the town hall, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but it seems like some of our wires got crossed here. So hopefully we'll be able to do it in person maybe in January, but we'll coordinate better. So again, we'll move on, CJ.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. And for anyone watching for John, we apologize for the problem, but January we will recoup and restart over. Thank you. Moving on to item D, public hearings. None here. New items, item E, also none. And item F, public comment. If you all recall on Zoom, we start off for any written comments that come in, and Paula Ray will read them. And after that, I will ask for public comment from anyone in the public. At that point, we will limit comments to 5 minutes, and please state your name and address when we get to that point. So we will start off with Paula Ray. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ.
Paula, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Council members, on Farmington Avenue across from Highwood Road, there are numerous political signs on what I believe is public property. I wouldn't care except one of those signs now has the word bullshit emblazoned across it, and Farmington Avenue is a busy road used by many of the school buses, including those for Union Elementary. I don't feel this is appropriate. Please take care of this. Also, as per Section 7, Part G of the zoning regulations, all temporary signs for an event must be removed no more than 2 days after the event.
Oh, really?
All political signs on public property should be removed. It's bad enough the sign features profanity that elementary age students, my children included, must drive by this every day, but these signs are a flagrant disregard to existing policy. Please see to this, J.P. Baherns. That's the only one, Kathy.
Thank you. Next slide. DJ, are you on the line?
Okay, I'm back. I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes. So
Okay.
Paula just read.
And this is why we like to have meetings from the town hall. Okay, so did we go to Anna? Anna, is there any public comment?
We do have one public comment. We have Tim Kelly, and I'm going to allow him to speak now.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Tim Kelly, 62 Westview Terrace. And I was wondering if Farmington has a COVID vaccination plan, given the expected approval and volume distribution of vaccines in the immediate future. We have a significant number of healthcare professionals who live in Farmington, as well as obviously a medical complex in town that employs over 5,000 people. And then we have our local police, fire, EMT responders, and of course, our teachers and staff in the Farmington schools. So given the logistics involved in rolling out the new vaccine, does the town have a specific plan or projected schedule for vaccinating our frontline workers? Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And we'll be talking about COVID a little later in the meeting.
Great.
Are there any other public comments?
Yes, we have one more from Pierre, and I'm going to allow him to speak now. He just needs to unmute himself.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Pierre.
Great. And thank you all. I just want to spend a couple minutes this evening primarily speaking to the new high school project. As we know, 2020 has dealt us a hand that no one expected, and unfortunately, the plans that had been laid out to move forward to a referenda were obviously deferred. As we approach the new year, I'm kind of hopeful that the town council and town leadership will provide a bit more information in terms of what the process might look like going forward. If there has been information put in the public record and I've missed it, certainly accept my apology. But so much momentum had taken place, and now obviously we've been in this holding pattern. And I guess the thought, and one of the reasons I guess I perhaps raise now, knowing that a referenda is not necessarily around the corner, is that I believe the committee that's been charged with bringing the concept as well as the specific project to the town council and ultimately to the voters has pretty much wrestled the plan to a point now where they have a relatively finite view as to what the costs are. But there are also some important threshold questions embedded there. One is what to do with the 1928 building. Their baseline plan is to demolish it and focus on the new building. And I understand there's some that perhaps may want to retain it for some future use. Additionally, there's the concept of the 900 wing and the notion that the Board of Ed offices might be included there. And I also think COVID perhaps has raised some questions around whether we should be keeping some of the 900 wing classroom space in its current form to provide greater flexibility in that regard. And then finally, we know that the financing of the project is not necessarily going to be easy. It's probably the most significant project financially that the town ever undertakes of this type. And I know there'll be a number of residents who are interested in understanding what it does to tax profiles as well as the cost to each of their household. And with those decisions may come some choices as to perhaps other projects that might be of equally viewed importance by some, but perhaps need to be deferred. So I just provide this comment on the basis that I do think it would be worthwhile to have a sufficient time to have some dialogue in town on some of these threshold questions. Because I think if the last referendum that soundly defeated the last proposal several years ago, what that taught us is that we spend an awful lot of time leading up to the design, but we really didn't do justice to the way the project was viewed financially and how certain critical questions really didn't have good answers. So perhaps a good 6 months of dialogue on this may be critically worthwhile. So thanks all for your service. 2020 has been an unfortunately difficult year, and best wishes to all this holiday season.
Thank you for your comments, Pierre, and we will be addressing the high school building committee in their report a little later in the meeting also. Anna, any more comments?
None that I see, and nothing came through chat.
Okay. Seeing no more comments, we will close public comment and going on to the reading of the minutes. G1, Peter.
Peter Mastrobatista, can I have a motion to approve the November 10th, 2020 regular town council meeting?
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on to item H1. This is correspondence and written appeals. For those of you who didn't get a chance to see the letter that the town manager and myself sent out to the town. We just were addressing the status of COVID, everything that was going on in town at this point, reminding everyone of all the safety precautions that we've been using throughout. So if you haven't had a chance, you can still go back and read it. It is on the town website waiting for your diligent attention. That is all the written correspondence. We'll now move on to item I, reports of our committees. First committee is the Yukon Health Committee. There is no report for that one. Next committee would be Land Acquisition.
Peter Mastro Batista, nothing new to report.
Thank you, Peter. Item 3, Green Efforts Committee.
Yes, CJ, thank you. This is Chris Fagan. The Green Efforts Committee met on December 1st. Our meeting was commenced with a presentation by Adam Teff from Titan Gen, who's a sustainability and energy consultant who has some experience working with Farmington, but just gave us a larger picture view of the services he could offer working with Kinetic Farmington in terms of just energy conservation, renewable energy planning, data management, and sort of a structure as to how he can help us best achieve our green efforts as we move forward, and also in conjunction with our desire or intention to proceed with the Sustainability Connecticut experience, and then help provide us a step-by-step process in terms of helping drive that process. So it was a very interesting presentation as to the services and capabilities that Titan Gen could offer to Farmington. Then we noted that we talked about the fall cleanup, which will take place. We've selected a date of April 24th of 2021. We plan on moving forward with that. The intention in moving forward is that it can be done in a COVID, appropriate fashion. And we did make some comments that there has been an increased amount of trash that seems located around town. So we really wanted to move forward with that. So April 24th is the date we've selected and marked on our calendars for that. We talked briefly about continuing publication of the Green Efforts newsletter, and just getting messaging out through the Town of Farmington newsletter and our efforts with ongoing publications and informative articles. And we did mention the Sustainable Connecticut process. On behalf of the committee, I would like to see if we could get on the January, before the council in January, to have a presentation from Sustainable Connecticut. And the efforts with that. I mean, just by refresher for the council members, Sustainable Connecticut is a voluntary certification program to recognize Connecticut municipalities utilizing best practices in promoting economic well-being, and sort of while respecting sort of the finite capacity of our natural environment. And I'm remiss that I can't remember her last name, but Alyssa from Sustainable Connecticut would provide a wonderful presentation to the council in how we can move forward. I mean, all our fellow communities in the area are part of the program. It doesn't cost anything to do it, and a lot of the stuff that we could obtain certification for, we're already doing anyway. So I would strongly recommend that we put this on the calendar for January and allow for a presentation from Sustainable Connecticut. And then our next meeting would be January 5th.
Great, thank you very much, Chris. The Farmington High School Building Committee.
Yep. As everybody knows, and Pierre mentioned, I mean, we've been sort of in a pause, and we're not meeting this month, but last month and since we've been on the pause, there's been a certain level, anxious feelings about the project and where we stand in the COVID environment, and regarding a discussion here at the town council on the pause and next steps for the project. So I'm looking for, on behalf of the building committee, consensus from the council to come off the pause in January, and with intent to continue to meet our June 2021 deadline for state grant submission. As the committee comes off pause, it would be a good opportunity to gauge how the community interest for the project, and how will we do that, and at the building committee level. And we brought on Tall Timbers Marketing for communications assistant, and looking to send out a newsletter in January. And then we'd also, with the Center for Research and Public Policy, like to conduct a phone survey of the community. The results of the survey would then be brought back to the council sometime in February to determine next steps. including an anticipated referendum date. So as I said, I'm looking for consensus on the following next steps. The January 12th Town Council meeting, an action item to formally take the building off pause. The January 26th Town Council meeting to invite the building committee to present the project and the budget to the Town Council. And then in February, a review of the survey results and determine next steps.
Thank you, Chris. Chris's question was, do we have consensus to bring this up at our next meeting and have open discussions on it? Are there any questions for anyone regarding that? Okay.
I support that.
Great. Okay. Let's go down the list. Ed is a yes. Brian?
Yeah, I support that.
Great. Peter?
Yes, I would support that.
Great. Gary?
Yes, I would support that.
Joe?
Yes.
Chris, I'm assuming you're a yes?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I'm a yes. So yes, we have consensus. Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the Racial Equality Task Force.
Yep. Edward Gianaros. So the Racial Equality Task Force met on November 12th and November 19th to update and discuss our goals and timeline. We will be presenting that timeline with our next steps and plan of action to the Town Council in our one of our January Town Council meetings. We also met on December. We also had an informal meet and greet on December 2nd, just an informal meeting just to get to know each other better. And that was actually Joe's idea. So hats off to Joe for a great idea. That was very successful as well. And I think we actually have a doodle poll out there trying to figure out, we're trying to have our next meeting in December. So we haven't locked down a specific date yet, but we will pay attention to the town calendar because there will be another Racial Equality Task Force meeting in December.
Great, very good. The next item on the agenda is the Village Center Parsons Property Ad Hoc Committee. The Ad Hoc Committee met with the Farmington Historic District Commission. They were fully in favor of our timeline, working on the sidewalk and moving forward. One of the questions we had for them was from our last meeting when we had put an ad alt onto the bid for conduit underneath the sidewalk for non-solar lighting. So we brought the idea up to them and they were united against the idea. Some of the reasons being the conduit would be 2 feet deep below the sidewalk. They were concerned about the trees and the disruption and the harm it might do to those. Also with the electric power boxes that would have to be installed, which they felt would be slightly unsightly throughout town. And one of the other issues that was brought up by the Historic District is historically there have not been lights on Farmington Avenue. So they were on Main Street, excuse me. So they felt it would be trying to create a history that never existed in the past. So they were really not in favor of that at all. So I would like to see if we can get consensus just to remove the ad alt from the bid process. The fear is anytime someone has to bid on different projects, it costs them time and thus costing us money just for the bidding process. But instead of adding time to the process and potentially money, I wanted to see if we could get consensus just to remove that ad alt to the bid. So any thoughts on that? Brian, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. The add-on to have the conduit put in there was because it was certainly discussed early on in the process because there was some interest in having those lights put in. So I wanted to make sure that that we did make sure that our citizenry knew that we heard that they wanted that and that we did explore that. And to the point you just made, as much as we might want to do it, and it was a just in case kind of a thing, it wasn't an unnecessary thing to do, but because it would potentially damage a number of trees if we put that in, and because we didn't know if we wanted the lights there, it wasn't really historic, and because of the unsightliness of all the boxes that would need to be installed to service the lamps. And because we did pass it through the Village Center Committee, through the Historic Center Committee, then they certainly said they didn't want to see that and didn't think it would be part of it. I certainly would agree that that is not a good thing for us to waste money on having people bid on something that we're probably not going to do.
Great, thank you, Brian. Ed? Just looking for consensus to take the that out of the bid process and just bidding on the sidewalk alone without the conduit.
Yeah, I agree with everything Brian just said. So I certainly support this since it's clear now that there's not a desire to have additional lights there. I think this makes sense.
Great, thank you. Peter?
Yeah, I agree with taking it off.
Great. Gary?
I definitely agree taking it off.
Thank you. Joe?
Yes, move it, please.
Great. And Chris?
I'm in agreement, taking up.
Okay, great. We have consensus. So Kathy, if you could go through the process of just taking that out of the bid as we put it out there.
Will do.
Is there anything else we need for that, Kathy, for you?
No, I just think the only other update for that, CJ, is that the committee will be giving a full presentation in January. It's going to be a busy January meeting
Yes, we
on
will.
the ad hoc committee and your charge, and we're going to go through the charge and give a full presentation to the council.
Great. You just saved me 5 minutes on my chair report.
Sorry.
That's quite all right. Now we're moving on to reports of the council chair and liaisons, and starting with the chair report. I was going to say just that. January is already looking like it will be fairly busy. We've been trying to set up what will be going on the agenda. As Kathy just said, the ad hoc committee will be one of those items. Chris gave us a little detail on the Farmington High School Building Committee. We'll be talking about the presentation on the Racial Equality Task Force, and we're expecting a presentation from them, I believe, still in January. We also have the budget, not a small thing, particularly in the age of COVID. So we've got that and much more. So it will prove to be a fairly busy January for us. Also, just a few things with the holidays. I would like to encourage everyone to take full advantage of Zoom, FaceTime, and any other virtual meeting applications that you have to gather with your loved ones. There's some added bonuses there, of course. For that story you've heard 100 times, you can just hit mute. You don't have to listen to it again. If things get a little bit too heated, you can think it losing connection. Just hang up. They won't even know. But in all seriousness, we have had an uptick in COVID cases since Thanksgiving. So we're hopeful that we in Farmington continue doing what we have been doing and avoid the same with all the holidays ahead. So with that, I would also just like to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah. I believe that's beginning Friday evening. Then we have Christmas coming up, Kwanzaa after that, and New Year. So please enjoy the holidays and do so as responsibly as possible. So thank you for that. And I would like to note, if you'll look at our pictures in the screen, it seems we've got a lot of very festive people out there with Christmas ties. And I think Chris takes the award with the tie, the vest, and the jacket. So, I do want to point that out. Peter promised me he's got
and socks, CJ, and socks.
We're not going there. We're stopping from the waist up.
And the red walls. I mean,
very nice. So with that, I will move on to Chris, Board of Education Liaison.
Okay. Chris Fagan, reporting on the Board of Ed meeting. The meeting was last night, and I guess if everybody could just grant me a certain amount of patience. I mean, it was a very substantive and interesting meeting. So just may take me a few minutes to get through this. I mean, I think the final tally was 180 participants in the meeting. So that's something in my tenure on the board and as board chair I never saw. So and there were a number of topics on the agenda that generated that interest, including just the ongoing COVID issues and teacher safety, the mascot for the high school, and the calendar change surrounding Columbus Day. And there was a number of people in public comment, and I always thought this when I was on the board and chair, was that a number of the people, individuals that spoke at public comment were students at the high school on the mascot issue. And it really is something to hear the confidence and clarity and conviction in which they communicate with. So, there are some opening comments by Nilda Irizarry, who's the principal over at IAR, just about the efforts that they're doing over there with equity and inclusivity in terms of their peer-led, community-led programs. And then, Kathy Greeter slid into the COVID updates. And, sort of the two takeaways we can say with the way the school district is handling and approaching this issue is, flexibility and science and data-driven decision-making. K through 8 continues with in-person, the cohort ABC approach. The 9 through 12 grades are utilizing the hybrid model. Curriculum, instruction, assessment remains unchanged. And there's been a slight uptick. Kathy presented the data that maybe a 10% increase in families moving to cohort C, which is the stay-at-home cohort, about a 10% uptick, spread about evenly among the schools, but about a 10% overall. In terms of, COVID issues, I mean, there's been, we're at the 28 per 100,000 and in the red zone. And Kathy and the district have identified the reasons for what they see as the spread within the district and the schools, and that's small social out-of-school gatherings, cluster cases within households, occupational health care and field exposures from parents who work and family members who work in the healthcare field, travel, and then sports outside of school. So they identified those issues within the district and the impact it's having on the student population and family population. Now, interestingly, Kathy presented a lot of information in terms of working with the Farmington Valley Health District. And what you really realize in Kathy's presentation is that we're true partners with the health district, and we have a wonderful working relationship with them that's focused on building a partnership and relationships and the science and data driving this. And we're very fortunate that we actually have an epidemiologist on staff with the health district, which is I think, if not just the only, but one of the only ones in the state. And there's a constant communication level. Kathy was highlighting that the public weekly meetings with the district and other Farmington Valley Health District and the other school districts, weekly communications on case rates analysis, individual calls to the superintendents, reviewing school event plans and mitigation strategies, the website, weekly nurse meetings, and each person, the Farmington Valley Health District has a point person for each school district. So the flow of communication has been really, really top notch. And then ultimately, what Kathy has said with regard to how we're approaching things in terms of maybe moving to another learning model, any decision like that will be data driven and made in conjunction with the Farmington Valley Health District. And where we are now in terms of still trying to utilize in-person learning is consistent with the recommendations of American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Psychological Association, and even the Department of Education and Department of Public Health for Connecticut, have determined that arbitrary date-based course closures are not warranted at this time. So everything we're doing is in conjunction with all the information out there. But yeah, as I said, Kathy's theme throughout all this is that we have to remain flexible as a district, recognizing that post-Thanksgiving, heading into the holiday season, there could be spikes and we'll have to respond. And as everybody's probably noticed, that Avon and Simsbury recently had some issues following the Thanksgiving holidays. Kim Wynn presented some updates on the strategic plan, which despite COVID is proceeding on track with the long-term goals of curriculum and the vision for the district. And we received a budget update, which, on a good note, administration applied for a $230,000 grant with the state to help defray, and it was granted, and we were awarded that grant, and that will help defray some of the salary expenditures and issues they're facing at the district, in particular because of staffing and the challenges they're facing with that and substitutes. So that was a nice little bonus for the district, and they're developing their budget for the upcoming process. Two of the items, as I indicated, that garnered a lot of attention and input at the public comment levels stage were the change of the school calendar to strike or remove the reference to the celebration of Columbus Day. It will still remain a day off. It will be reflected on the calendar right now as sort of with the acronym or the initials NS, no school. But then the board is going to enter into a second stage where they're going to, provide or engage in further efforts and consideration of how they're going to celebrate or recognize that day going forward. So there was no decision made on that other than removing the recognition of Columbus from that day. Interesting that the other last subject which was covered, which I would probably recommend everybody to, if you can pull up the meeting from last night and watch it, because it was a very powerful point of the meeting, and it had to do with the mascot at the high school. And Fran Amara, who is the chair of the ad hoc committee dealing with that, presented the findings. And it was clear from my takeaway, just listening to the meeting, it was clear that it was, obviously, I think, an emotionally charged issue within the community, and that many members of the committee that were involved, went through a very introspective process of sort of self-realization during this period, and it was very powerful. And there's a lot of findings, and I won't bog us down tonight with the findings of the committee, but I would strongly suggest people to go out and review those. I mean, if you want, I can pull them, I have them right here and can read through some of the findings. I'll be more than happy to do it, but it would be good, because I think this is a very important issue for the community, and people have very strong opinions on it. And the findings of the community, the ad hoc committee, may be good just to review those and see those firsthand, so you sort of understand where they were coming from. But generally speaking, the committee really focused on two issues. And what was the educational impact of having the Native American reference as a mascot, and what kind of community and school do we want to foster with respect to race and culture? And those were the two driving principles. And there were a number of findings that supported ultimately the decision to remove the Indian as the mascot at the high school. And the motion that was passed, I'll summarize it, was to approve the removal of the Indian mascot effective last night, December 7th, 2020, to consider the budgetary aspects for adopting a new mascot and the phased replacement of the old mascot. 3, to maintain the maroon and gray colors for the high school. 4, to prohibit use of all Native American imagery going forward. And then 5, they charged the ad hoc with sort of phase 2 of their charge, which is to go back, review new mascot proposals to be brought forward towards the Board of Education in May of 2021. So it was a very interesting meeting. As I said, I would strongly encourage people to go and view the meeting. It was powerful at times. I think it would be a good exercise for everybody on the council, and if not the general community, to do that. And then just in closing, there was mention last night that there's a gratitude initiative underway where people are just sending messages to teachers, administrators, and people within the school district, just saying thank you for everything they're doing. And so if anybody just take 2 minutes out of your day, pulse, if you have a relationship with a teacher, administrator, or somebody, just send them a quick little note, say thanks for everything they're doing. So that's it. Thank you, CJ.
Great, thank you for that thorough report, Chris. And do you just want to give everyone the website of the public schools? Do you remember? Wait, your microphone's off.
fpsct.org.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right, moving on to economic development.
Edward Gianaros. The EDC, Economic Development Commission, met on November 18th. The EDC issued a positive referral to TPZ for JJRF Management LLC Code Real Estate for the Midpoint project. So this is a project that'll transform the McAllen building. So the first floor is going to be mixed use. So the first floor is going to be retail. There's going to be a couple floors of storage and possibly artwork above that. And there'll be 2 apartments on the top floor. There's also going to be, I believe, 6 apartment buildings that are situated in a way to avoid, there's from north to south and east to west, there's town sewer lines that go through there. So those are strategically situated to avoid being over any of those sewer lines. They plan on building a ramp to connect the residential community to the Rails to Trails. And there's also going to be a beach and boat launch area by the river there. And I think that this project has the potential to help us with one of our strategic goals that Brian actually recommended when we were going through the strategic plan earlier in the year. And that is attracting more young professionals to Farmington. I think, you know, having a new kind of residential community that's by the river, has a connection to the trail. I think it's going to be potentially, if this does get passed by TP&Z, potentially a step in the right direction towards meeting that goal. And the next EDC meeting is scheduled for January 13th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ed. And for those who aren't aware, the McCallum Building is the one right next to the Big Bird Bridge. So right where Midas Muffler is, and the whole area right in there. And did they give a presentation that is up on the with the minutes of the TP&Z? Do you know, Ed?
I'm not sure if the minutes are up there yet. I'm not 100% sure.
All right, so stay tuned for that, and there will be another presentation going forward. Where do we go? Hit Farmington Historic District Commission.
This is Brian. In addition to the presentation that we gave to the Historic District Commission, there were a couple of items that were discussed and voted on. The first one that was voted on was to grant a temporary certificate of appropriateness to install roof-mounted solar panels at 25 Hatters Lane. And that is presented and on file in the planning office. The other item that was voted on was to grant a temporary certificate of appropriateness to replace 5 windows. And there were some conditions along with that, but that was voted as well. And that's all we were doing. And our next meeting is on January 19th.
Great, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
The Housing Authority.
Nothing to report on at this time.
Okay. Human Relations Commission.
Yes, the HRC will be meeting January 11th. Sorry, Joe Capitaferro speaking. January 11th, where the ADL and the Jewish Federation will be giving presentations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Library Board.
Gary Palumbo. At this time, the library is on lobby pickup only. If you go on their website, you look for hours for live library hours for pickups. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Gary. Town Planning and Zoning Liaison.
Yes, Joe Capitaferro again. And to go off of what you're asking about the Midpoint Development District, the meeting was held last night with TPC for the zone change, which was approved. And if you do go on to their minutes, you will see their master plan, which they presented.
Great, thank you for that, Joe. Unionville Historic District Commission.
Edward Gianaros. The Unionville Historic District Commission met on December 3rd. Lisa Johnson was re-elected chair of the commission. We discussed the status of the study commission expansion report. We also discussed different options for an educational seminar in the springtime. And the next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January 7th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ed. Unionville Village Improvement Association.
Edward Gianaros, nothing new to report.
All right, moving on to Water Pollution Control Authority.
Joe Capitaferro, their meeting is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Nothing new to report.
Great. Any other liaisons that would wish to report? I will just give a plug to the Unionville Museum, who is doing a great job in encouraging people to put up lights. They're trying to basically have a drive-through lights show through all of Unionville, and I encourage everyone through the rest of town also. It's nice to have a little bit of extra festiveness and happiness while we're all going through COVID and all else going on now. With that, I will turn it over to Kathy Blonsky for the report of the town manager.
Hi, I just have a short report tonight. Just wanted to let everyone know, if they had not heard, that our Highway and Ground Superintendent, Scott Zanke, recently retired after 16 years of service with the town. And also that we did promote our highway foreman, Jim Rusbason, to Highway and Ground Superintendent, Scott's position. So Jim has been with the town for 26 years, and he started as an operator 1 at the water pollution control facility. He worked at the treatment plant, and then he moved over to become the highway foreman in 2016. So we're very happy for Jim to be our new highway superintendent. On COVID, I just wanted to state, just as everyone else has been talking about, that obviously our numbers are upticking. And as Chris Fagan has spoke, that we are in constant contact with the health district. We have a great partnership with Jennifer and her team. And right now, based on the question that was asked, the health district is working with the state for a vaccine plan. And so we are getting more and more details. We're sending information to the health district, and we'll be reporting on that in the near future. But they are very actively working on our plan and how we're going to go about doing it in conjunction with the state and with our Valley Health District. So that is happening. I wanted to note that right now, we are keeping things status quo in the town hall, but it could be the potential, depending on what the governor's does, that we could be closing the town hall to the public. That would probably be the first step if the governor makes any new kind of regulations. Right now, the building is physically open, but no one, it's really closed to the public, but the building is open and people are in, and our tax office is open. The next step would probably be locking the building, and really people would have to have an appointment to come in the building. We have had some COVID issues with our employees, but luckily as of today, we haven't had a super spread or a spread within the organization. It's more been with quarantining people, people that know people. We have had a few employees that have been sick, but I would say we were talking about it today just to give you an idea about just the amount of people out. We're probably talking between 10 and 15% of our employees out on a regular basis, sometimes even higher than that. So level of productivity and different things, it's different. I think our highway garage and department did a great job still collecting the leaves, but we did have, we switched employees into the highway department to help with the leave pickup, but we did have to quarantine people and do various things. So again, everything, I think we are still functioning at a high level, but we are, people are out because of COVID. So just to give you an update on that. And I think that's it, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Kathy from anyone? Hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve the report of the town manager?
Peter Mastrobatista, I make a motion to approve the town manager's report.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on to appointments. Peter.
Peter Mastrobatista, agenda item L3, to appoint Ann Wolfling, appointed to the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission as an alternate for a balance of 3-year term, beginning immediately and ending September 30th, 2023.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on. Old business, we have none. New business, N1.
Peter Mastrobatista, I make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign a contract with Stryker for the purchase of 3 Lucas devices, 1 for each main fire station, for a multi-year commitment of 5 years.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
I have a motion and a second. Kathy, do you want any clarifications on that?
Just that this is for 3 devices, 1 for each main fire station, and it is a multi-year commitment of 5 years. And just for the public, the Lucas device extends the reach of care by ensuring improved quality CPR during a cardiac arrest event. So this is something that the cost would be $6,000 per year for 4 years, which would come out of the operating budget in the fire department. In year 5, a final payment of $36,000 $4,433 from the capital plan for a total cost of $60,443. And the fire department is very, really is looking forward to getting this piece of equipment for the fire department, 3 pieces of equipment.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Does anyone have any questions?
Just one comment
Hearing none?
that
Go ahead.
just one comment that this will really save lives. These Lucas machines.
Great, thank you.
Uh,
Brian?
Just a question. Was this covered in our budget, the year budget?
It was going to be, the $6,000 is going to be paid for in the next budget coming up. So we're going to have it in that. And then you're also going to see it on the capital plan. And that's one of the reasons why we're putting it at the council level, is because we are committing to it in the out years to do it.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number 2.
Peter Mastro Batista, agenda item N2, I make a motion to adapt the attached resolution authorizing the town manager to execute an application for state financial assistance with the state of Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development for the Small Town Economic Assistance Program, the STEEP grant.
Joe Caponeferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
This is, as you remember, the town was awarded our STEEP grant of $128,000. And this is for our multi-campus outdoor meeting pavilion. And this is just the paperwork that's required.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number 3.
Peter Mastro Batista, agenda item N3, to approve the following property tax refunds as listed below.
Joe Caponeferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Okay, moving on to executive session. We have none. It is at this point in the meeting where I generally will give you a quote. This month, due to the holidays and with apologies to Clement Clark Moore, I am going to recite a poem. 'Twas the year of the COVID and all through the town. Our residents were careful and would not let us down. They Zoomed with their friends, washed their hands quite a lot. Their gatherings were small, but the masks they were not. Lending hands to their neighbors, but at a safe distance. When others had needs, they would offer assistance. So I thank one and all. On the bad, I won't dwell. We're all in this together. So be safe and stay well. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Peter Mastro Batista, I make an adjournment that we adjourn the December 8th, 2020 Farmington Town Council meeting.
Joe Caponeferro, second, and happy holidays, everybody.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or best wishes? I'm raising a glass of eggnog to everyone. Have a good holiday.
Cheers.
Best wishes.
Best wishes.
Best
Happy
wishes.
holidays.
Okay. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Happy holidays.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.